Does Kylian Mbappe deserve another World Cup? He is averaging about a goal a game, and he is at times single-handedly dragging Real Madrid through La Liga and the Champions League. He's just easily one of the best players in the world right now. But the World Cup doesn't work like that. It doesn't just reward players who have had good seasons. It's based on who actually has the best team, and obviously a bit of luck. Yet Kylian Mbappe has always been the exception to that rule. Somehow he has made the final of the last two World Cups, winning one of them. And the guy is just 27 years old. So if he's done it every single time before, who says he can't do it again? In 1958, Pelé made football history by becoming the youngest ever player to win a World Cup, an achievement which still stands to this day. He was the first glimpse of a wonder kid in football. And in the years that followed, while we did see footballers shine at a young age and win trophies, it was never really quite the same as Pelé. But that was until 2018, when France achieved the greatest achievement in football and won the World Cup. And at the center of that French team was a 19-year-old Kylian Mbappe. You see, Mbappe had become the second teenager to score in a World Cup final, second only to Pelé. Mbappe literally was the greatest wonder kid we saw since the Brazilian legend himself, which was a comparison that led to this Reddit post about Mbappe joining Pelé by making World Cup history. And the comments just speak for themselves. One person said, "Man, he's just 19, what a future he has ahead of him." Another said 180 million euros well spent. And that was a reference to the fact that Mbappe was and still is the second most expensive transfer in football history. The guy was literally destined for greatness. So in the following years, Mbappe went from being just a prodigy to being one of the greatest footballers the world has ever seen. But the 2022 World Cup was a very different tournament for Mbappe. He no longer had the freedom of just being a teenage sensation with nothing to lose. You see, Karim Benzema, France's most formidable attacker at the time, was out of the tournament due to injury. So in a way, everyone was looking towards Mbappe to perform. And he did just that. France finished top of their table, and then they went on to win every single knockout game up until their final match against Argentina. And this matchup was probably the greatest World Cup final in the tournament's history, with a 3-3 draw that went to extra time, and then penalties, and then finally ended up with Argentina winning. And Mbappe became the first player in FIFA World Cup final history to score a hat-trick and still lose. Honestly, looking back, it's almost poetic to see Mbappe achieving football greatness at 19 years old, and then 4 years later coming so close to it yet again, but then failing at the final stage. But just to put into perspective how insane Mbappe's first two World Cup tournaments have been, well, just take a look at this chart showing the most World Cup Grand Final goals by a single player. Down here at 2 goals, we have some of the best footballers to play the game. Players like Ronaldo Nazario, Paul Breitner, and of course, Lionel Messi. Then at 3 goals scored, we have the likes of Zinedine Zidane and the Brazilian legend Pelé. But you're not going to believe this. Standing alone, by himself, at 4 goals scored in World Cup Grand Finals is Kylian Mbappe. And here's the crazy part. Everyone on this chart has played out their entire career. Well, everyone apart from Lionel Messi. But Messi does have the most appearances of any footballer in World Cups, with 26 matches played. So the point I'm making is that Mbappe has the most World Cup final goals, and he's only played 2 World Cups. But the question remains, could Mbappe win another World Cup? Well, the answer isn't that simple. And the best way to approach this is to look at France's most recent major tournament, Euro 2024. This Euro was Mbappe's biggest test yet, because he no longer had the leadership of Hugo Lloris to rely on to. This time, he was the captain. And France were looking a bit shaky, as before the Euros they had won just 2 of their last 5 games. Still, at the end of the day, France were a world-class team. But then in the literal first match of the Euros, disaster struck. Mbappe broke his nose in France's opening game against Austria. That injury forced him to miss the following game against the Netherlands. And while he did return for the other matches, he was literally looking like a Ninja Turtle, wearing a mask over his face. And this was definitely a disadvantage as it restricts his vision on the pitch. Still, France managed to make it to the semi-finals, and that's when they came across Spain. Now here's the interesting thing. Going into this match, France actually had a much better team. They had Adrien Rabiot returning from injury and joining the midfield trio trio with Tchouaméni and Kanté, and the rest of France's starting 11 was relatively the same. Plus, Mbappe was now free of his mask. And on the other hand, for Spain, Pedri was out of the tournament due to an injury against Germany, and they were missing both Robin Lenormand and Dani Carvajal due to suspension. So France didn't really have any excuse to lose this game. But Spain did have that wing partnership of Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, and they just overwhelmed France's defense and ultimately knocked them out of the Euros. So by the end of this Euros, this was Mbappe's most disappointing international performance yet, scoring just 1 goal in 5 appearances. And by the way, that 1 goal was a penalty. He failed, not just as a player, but a captain this time. Maybe the pressure got to him. Maybe he wasn't ready for the responsibility, or maybe he was just injured. But the outcome was pretty clear. He just didn't perform. But all of that doesn't really matter anymore. All that matters is the World Cup in just a few months' time. And I'm not gonna lie, Kylian Mbappe is looking amazing right now. He's truly shaping up to be the goal scorer he was always meant to be. He's the top scorer in La Liga and the top scorer in the Champions League. People will always make the argument that he hasn't actually won anything, but you have to realize he joined a declining Madrid squad, and at times has single-handedly pulled Madrid to the finish line. Like literally just a few days ago against Bayern Munich in the first leg, where Bayern looked ready to finish Madrid off then and there. But Mbappe managed to score in the 74th minute, again saving Madrid from humiliation. He really has just turned into the complete goal scorer, honestly reminding me a bit of Champions League Cristiano Ronaldo, which kind of makes sense as people are literally beginning to question if he could become the GOAT of Real Madrid. And this evolution from Mbappe initially being a pace-driven winger in the 2018 World Cup to now shifting to a striker is going to be so advantageous for France. I say this because Mbappe used to be a guy who completely relied on his pace to outskill his opponents, but now he can finish from long or short range and still have that electric pace. Also, at the moment, France are objectively the best team in the world, ranked number 1 according to FIFA's rankings, and that also comes with having the most stacked attack we've honestly ever seen, with the likes of Ballon d'Or winner Ousmane Dembele, Michael Olise, who's probably the best right wing in the world right now, Hugo Ekitike, who's having an insane season for Liverpool, Ryan Cherki, who's balling out for Man City, and well, of course, Kylian Mbappe. On paper, they shouldn't just win the World Cup, but they should demolish every single team. But we know that's not how a World Cup works. These tournaments are unpredictable, and that's what makes them so fun to watch. But even though World Cups are known for their unpredictability, France might just defy that. And I say so because of Kylian Mbappe, because he has a quality that is just so unique. He's clutch. If we look back at that 2022 World Cup, going into that final against Argentina, France didn't have their A or B team, they had their C team. Benzema was gone, Pogba and Kanté were gone, Magnin was injured, and Nukunu was injured as well. Also, Lucas Hernandez, who was one of France's strongest players, tore his ACL in the first match of the tournament. Plus, it gets worse. Apparently, in the days before the final, several of the France players were battling flu-like symptoms. So in a way, before the match even started, it was basically Kylian Mbappe versus Argentina. So the fact that Mbappe managed to score a hat-trick and force the game to penalties just shows how clutch he truly is. So I think there's honestly a solid chance that Mbappe wins a World Cup again. He's just been so clutch in the past, and this time around he has the greatest team in the world to back him up.